Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
How do you teach your children to fight? Hi, this is Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now. Our children naturally fight over little stuff, but the question is, do they fight well? And do you want them to ever fight? And so let me tell you a story first that might put this in perspective. One day I was flying somewhere alone and I was sitting next to a lady, and we were several rows back from the front, and the plane was delayed in closing the hatch, pushing back from the gate. There was some delay. I can't remember what it was, but people started getting a little restless. 3 or 4 rows ahead of us, a young man in his 20s stood up and reached up overhead in the overhead bin. He was rustling around, doing something, and then he just stood there in the aisle and was kind of shifting his weight back and forth. And the lady, under her breath, said, "I wish he would sit down. He's making me nervous." I thought about this scenario in my mind. What would I do if he proved to be a dangerous person? And I actually asked the lady, I said, if I was your son and that man proved to be doing something dangerous, what would you want me to do about it? She didn't want to talk about that. She didn't even want to think about it. But I think we should think about it. And I think we should talk about our children about situations where they need to be brave, and they need to have within them the capacity to fight in some way. It may be strategic, it may be physical fighting, it may be analyzing a situation and being under control. And I'm not saying that we're going to fight every situation, but there are times when our children may be called upon to make a physical response. So how do we train our children to fight? I'd say start with small things. Start with having them do difficult things where it's physically hard for them. It could be even a game where they are playing football and tackling one another, and they skin their knee and get an elbow in the side, and they're comfortable. They become aware, are familiar with some degree of discomfort. And it could be not that it's playing games. It could be that, like here, I have fences behind me, and there were times they were wire fences with steel T-posts, and the boys and I put up a lot of those fences, and we wrestled with that wire, and we wrestled with the tools, and our hands got sore and our back got sore. And so we got a comfortable, or not necessarily comfortable, but we became familiar with some degree of discomfort. And so it can be games where you take them to a place where there's kind of fighting games where you're all in this protective gear and you're trying to knock one another down. All these things are training for a mindset of becoming strong physically to be able to respond in situations. And then it could be carried to a higher level where they're even taught fighting techniques, whether it's self-defense techniques, which really is a sense of fighting, but also learning boxing or punching or wrestling. You can get involved in a number of activities that train them how to fight, but also most of the training in those teaching them how to fight is how to avoid the fight and to be strong enough to avoid the fight. And some of it is by being prepared to physically respond. It begins with playing, it begins with working, but it also begins with us talking about them, that there are situations where they'll be called upon to be brave, and that we talk to them about analyzing a situation and realizing that there may be a cost, a price to pay in certain situations where you need to defend someone else. You put yourself in danger to protect someone else. And that is teaching your children to fight, because sometimes values come into conflict, and that's when we decide this value is more important, and therefore I will sacrifice this value of safety in order to protect whatever this is, whether it's someone else's integrity or whether it's, a dangerous situation for someone else. Teaching our children to think in the mindset of entering danger strategically to fight for some good cause. Heroes are great inspiration for this. So read books about people who have embraced danger for a greater cause. And whether it's our national heroes like George Washington or political leaders of the days gone by who said, "Give me liberty or give me death," or any number of things where we put at high value the self-sacrifice, that fighting spirit that says, "I will endure danger for something greater." That's how you teach your children to fight. It's Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now.
If you find the advice here helpful, I encourage you to get my book, Parenting with Influence, by visiting rogersmithmd.com. Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.